things are always better if it's someone else's fault. Hi, this is Barry Phillips with 10-Minute Torah, day number 4, a Torah portion, Mishpatim. The word Mishpatim meaning judgments or decrees, if you will. We're still in Shemot or Exodus chapter number 22, and I'd like to follow up with where we were yesterday, reading again the same two verses, verse 5 and 6 of chapter 22. When a man lets a field or a vineyard be grazed bare and lets loose his livestock, and it feeds in another man's field, he repays from the best of his own field and the best of his own vineyard. When fire breaks out and spreads the thorn bushes so that stacked grain or standing grain or the field is consumed, he who kindled the fire must repay, or shall certainly repay. What we're talking about here is the basic concept of accountability. Now, we like to think that because my hand was not absolutely directly involved, then there is a loophole that I can kind of skinny through and say, but it's not my fault actually. Or more often not, it's not all my fault. You're also partly to blame. So if I kindle a fire and it gets out of hand, well, it's also your fault that you had some debris in your yard that caught fire. If you had your debris up, it wouldn't have caught fire. If I hadn't started the fire to begin with, neither one of us would be worried about what had been consumed. So the case here is that a man who allows his field to be grazed to the ground is either trying to keep too much livestock on the property. That is, he doesn't have sufficient fields to feed the number of animals that he is trying to obtain. Or it's also possible that he has mismanaged the flock by not moving them sufficiently to where they don't destroy the ground trying to graze. Or it's that he just doesn't understand livestock. It pays to have some operational knowledge of what it is that you're trying to accomplish. Promoting someone over their ability is a problem. Trying to do a job for which you are not trained can provide a great deal of difficulty. Due to poor management, his herds then are going to suffer lack. So his resolve may be open the gates and just let them roam and let them eat wherever they will, even in my neighbor's property, but they're still my animals. Really? Well, let's look at this from a spiritual vantage point. Everything that is here is applied primarily in the physical realm circumstances, but it also has a principle involved that we need to pay attention to. As a congregational leader, whether you want to call me rabbi or a pastor or an elder or teacher, whatever makes you happy, just call me, hey Barry, that's fine. If I, as a congregational leader, am trying to operate at a level for which I am not qualified, then it's not me that's going to have the biggest problems. It's my flock, my herd, my people. Here the American dream takes over in the spiritual realm as well, thinking that the more people that we cram under one roof, the more successful a ministry, the more anointed we are, the more powerful thing we're doing for the kingdom is being accomplished. Not necessarily true. It's very rare that there is a spiritual leader who was qualified to handle any more than 50 people. That being said, the vast majority of Hebrew roots community congregations are 50 or less. There are exceptions. There are some that have done exceptionally well. But those congregations that are 100, 200 or more are those that have good leadership and good managerial styles. That is, one man is not trying to do it all. One person is not the teacher and the worship leader and the finance keeper and the motivator, and he's not trying to keep his hands individually on every individual family in the congregation on a continual basis. But rather, there are under-shepherds. There are people who know how to do skilled positions underneath his overall leadership. So in order for a congregation to grow, in order for there to be a substantial increase in numbers, there needs to be a solid performance of leadership. Otherwise, I'm going to leave my people stuck in one spot and they're going to graze the ground bare. What also happens then is that you have your flock scattered and running everywhere else, looking for something more, looking for issues to be resolved at somebody else's place, but then you want to claim that they're still your people. Some other shepherd is feeding them, but when it comes down to claiming them, no, they're my people. What are you doing having them over at your place? The church world has this all the time, and we have adopted the same practice, and it's wrong. Let's look at this a little bit further. In the second verse that we discussed today, verse number 6, starting a fire that spreads out of control. In our teachings, teaching the standard doctrines, teaching about restoration, being redeemed, being faithful to the word, living a righteous life. Solid doctrinal principles about who Yeshua is, what the feast days mean, what it means to be set apart, etc. It's exciting perhaps the first time people hear it, but after they've heard it several times through, it's not that you don't need to teach it. Maybe you need to refresh it. Maybe you need to come at it from a different angle. Telling the same stories over and over again can get old. I have been told that by my own family. Oh, Dad, please don't tell that story again. Those things need to be rehearsed. They need to be understood. And not everybody is hearing it for the first time. There are sometimes some newcomers that need to understand. Those kind of things get hurt enough that people are saying, tell me something new and exciting and invigorating. The problem with that is some folks can't settle for what is solid and dependably true. They have to go after the conspiracy theory, the far-flung idealistic teaching that's way out there on the edge that may or may not be true, probably doesn't have any kingdom value, but it's exciting. It's invigorating. And so having itching ears, they run after the more glamorous teaching. That's a problem. If as a congregational leader I'm doing that, if I'm stirring up a firestorm of controversy for the sake of gaining an audience, and the fire begins to burn into other congregations and cause congregational upset elsewhere, who is accountable? Ultimately, it's me. I'm the one that's to blame. We have to understand that when we start a rumor, when we post something on Facebook or in social media that is not validated, it is not authentic. It's not authentic. When we're dealing with things that are mere conspiracies, when we're fanning people into an emotional flame over an issue, and that fire begins to burn, and then they cause other problems elsewhere, where is the root of this? It comes back to us. Keep your fires burning in your own house. When it comes to things that are inflammatory, watch your mouth. Watch your words. Watch your actions. The accusations and the insults that we hurl at one another over issues, keep it to yourself. If God shows you, or if you see a fault in someone, it's not so that you would spread it abroad, it's so that you would intercede for them. Ask the Father to have mercy on them. So let's not graze our ground too far. And let's not let the fires of controversy get out of control. We are accountable. More tomorrow. Until then, shalom.